Okay, NBMooslover here with another video, and what we have here is we have some black oil sunflower seeds, and I'm feeding to my birds and to my pet grouse. And I had a grouse come in here. I've had 3 of them total coming in, and the other night one came in, and we've got 4 piles of seeds here. There's 400 seeds. It's 100 in every pile, and some of them are smaller seeds and some are a little larger. And then this here is all of them in a bag, so it's 400 seeds, and that's about the size of a grouse's crop, which is a thin membrane that they basically, all their food goes into, and when they're eating, they eat real fast. They'll be up in a birch tree eating buds, and they'll just pick them as fast as they can, and then they'll transfer the food from there to their gizzard, and this way they can eat a lot of food quickly. And so anyway, I just wanted to show that there. And then this grouse is going to eat these 400 seeds, and I figure that's what it ate. I was trying to count him eating them, and you know, I think it was in about I think maybe, I don't know if it was 10 minutes, you know, but it seemed a lot faster than that, because he's just going to town. And I had sped the video up in parts. I kind of started out slow, and then I had sped it up just so the video wouldn't be so long. But then I decided to just leave it full length, and because it was just kind of silly him going in fast motion. And you know, person, if you want to shorten the video, if you can always fast forward it a bit. And then there's a little whitetail fawn at the end of it here that came in and kind of, you know, tried to crash the party. I didn't see him coming in, and he just kind of ended up in front of the frame. But this grouse here is going to come in and go right to town on this pile of seed. And it was it was kind of nice for the evening that the sun was actually still up a little bit when they come in. A lot of times these grouse are coming in, it's so dark that I can barely film them. And they wait and wait, and then they're usually roosting in the little spruce or little fir trees, spruce trees behind where this grouse eatery is, this picnic table that I put the seed under. And they've been coming in here every day. This grouse comes in here every night. It was coming in the morning a long time ago, but now it just comes at night, and late at night. Like, they'll wait till it's almost dark to come in. And of course the deer are coming in here, and I sit outside and keep the deer away, because the you know, the grouse won't come in with the deer there, or you know, they'll spook them eventually. So because the deer will try to, you know, stick their heads in this eatery here and try to get the seeds. So I have to kind of play referee and security guard to keep the deer away in the evenings. And I don't care if they come in here at night and eat under the feeders, but anyway, in the morning it's the same thing. Sometimes I have to spook the deer so that the birds can get a chance to eat, because the birds are so nervous, these grosbeaks I have coming here. But yeah, anyway, a little black-capped chickadee here coming around the grouse. And I had the 3 grouse, like I said. I have this one main one that was coming, and then I had 2 that were coming together. And a lot of times when the 2 show up, they don't seem to get along. I get my nights mixed up. This was filmed, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 nights ago. And then I think it was last night, I had them come in really late, and one came in and they were flying down. Some of them, they were way up in high trees, and they were flying down, and then one got in there and started eating. And then the other one basically flew down and come in, and as soon as it went into you know, the little eatery here, the first one basically turned around and left, and then you know, walked out and then flew up into a tree again. So it's discouraging that they can't get in there and eat together. But they sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. It depends on the grouse. It seems like there's maybe 1 out of the 3 that, you know, that doesn't get along with one of the other ones. But anyway, it's been fun having them around here. Been fun having them around here and watching them, and a lot of times, gets a little repetitive filming them, but I try to look for the best film that I can get of them, and a lot of times it's just too dark at night to do anything. And I can barely talk here. It's a horse. But anyway, got a lot of video to talk over here. But like I was showing you at the first, the seeds and the crop, if you ever, cooked a turkey, you pretty well, most people would know what the gizzard looks like. It's just a round, really hard muscle. It's kind of like a little ball that has kind of a split in the middle, and it's like two halves that basically kind of rub together, and the birds will eat rocks and sand and get it in there, and use that to help grind up the feed that they're eating. Grouse will be out along the roads eating grit. A lot of times you'll catch them eating little rocks and to grind up their food, and some of the stuff they eat is pretty rough. I mean, you're talking leaves and tree buds and things, and it's amazing that the gizzard will actually do that, and of course their acids that they have that are basically excreted for that purpose too, break it down. But this grouse is going right to town here, and he's just like he's eating 2 or 3 a second there. He's just hammering it, and like I said, I tried to count them, and I kept losing count. But I figure he ate, or consumed here, or filled his crop with about 400 seeds, I think, and that was that little bundle that I showed you, and that's about the size of what their crop usually is. I mean, I was a hunter for quite a few years, and I hunted grouse, and you'd find the crops full of beech nuts, and like I said, birch is one of their favorite foods, especially it's in late fall and winter is when the buds come out, and that's where you'll find a lot of them way up in the birch trees, even just before dark, and it's a safe place for them to eat off the ground where predators can't get them. And I mean, they eat berries, and they eat insects, and clover, and all kinds of little mosses and things like that. They've got a really varied diet. There's even needles. They'll even eat fir needles if it gets pretty, spruce needles if it gets really tough. But it's they're interesting birds, and their feathers are just so amazing. And you see these birds just. I'm looking for deer there. I'm swinging around, see if there's any deer coming in, because the deer sneak in all the time. And then I missed this deer. It snuck in anyway, because I zoomed back in here and I can't see it approaching. And then their feathers, they're such a beautiful bird. The way their feathers just puff right out, and all the colors of the camouflage that they've got, and it's so fun to see them. They'll eat and eat, and then they'll just sit there, because that's what they do. They will actually eat so much, and then they'll sit there and kind of rest and just let it kind of settle, I think, in their crop, and digest some of it as much as they can, because the more they can digest before they fly up to roost, the more they can pack into that crop, so they get their little lunch bag that they carry around their neck there. It's quite a a unique way to store your food. So you can store it outside your stomach, and then just kind of take it in as it breaks down, and it's really interesting. And you're growing up and stuff, you take it for granted. Like I was even hunting birds, and I mean, understood everything about them, but you just don't when you're sitting here filming them and you're really observing them and looking at them in a little different way than just a meal. Because I mean, partridge is if you've never had it, I mean, it's really good meat. I mean, it's way above chicken. I'll tell you that. There's no fat on it hardly at all. It's all 100% lean meat and just as white as can be, and it's really good stuff. But I haven't hunted them for years. I haven't hunted, for over 10 years now. Anything. I don't hunt deer or moose. I don't put in for moose anymore. It's all about filming stuff now. And, I'll leave the grouse and all the other animals for the hunters that still want to pursue them, I'd rather just film them and just, watch them. You get to kind of, appreciate things a little bit more. Respect and appreciate life a lot more to me. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not an anti-hunter. It's just, if I was in Alaska, if I could get out to Alaska, I might, take a moose every year because I do like moose meat. I might take a moose every year because you can hunt every year in the Yukon or anywhere out there. You can take a moose every year. There's no draw or anything, and but it's in a different situation, And if I was in the Yukon, I could film some really big moose. That'd be nice. But wish I'd have gone out there a long time ago. I might have even ended up being a hunting guide if I had to get out there when I was younger. But anyway, back to the grouse here. Here's he's all done eating here, and now he's just going so slow. Like I said, I did a version of this where I sped it up, and I kind of even sped this part up because I was trying to keep the video as short as I could. But that's what I kind of wanted to leave in is, just so you can see, everything about these birds and how they act. And they're always on alert because the predators can get them: hawks, owls, foxes, bobcats, coyotes, and you see how slowly he's moving. He's just like, and he doesn't know I'm there. I mean, I've been sitting there for quite a while, and he can't really notice me. I'm in camo, and but they really, their whole existence is based on just constantly listening and looking, and they just kind of move really slowly when they're walking, and he's kind of sitting there, I think, digesting his food a little bit too. He's just thinking, well, I'll stick around here, maybe I'll go back and get some more seeds, but he's just, because they will just sit, and they'll sit and sun themselves too. You see them in the winter, and anytime when there's any sun out, and a lot of times there's no heat in it, but especially towards spring when they start to get some warmer weather, they'll sit and face the sun and keep themselves warm so they don't have to expend the energy from their food to do it, and just sit there and soak up the sun. Deer do the same thing. They'll lay down in the sun. You'll find their beds in the snow where they melted, and they just sit there, and they'll always end up on a sunny side of the woods facing the sun. And you're just sitting there, just waiting, contemplating going back and getting some more. And on this night when I filmed this, the deer is going to come right here. Okay, so this is basically, I panned back and then I panned in again on him, and he's kind of looking around and getting a little bit nervous there. But see, I didn't know that this deer had snuck in. Like I said, they come in all the time when I'm sitting there, and I've got to keep them away, keep getting up and wave my arms or making some noise, or to keep them so they won't come in and scare the birds. and this fawn is sneaking in here, coming around behind on the left, and he's going to appear right in my viewfinder when I back up here a bit. And it just surprised me because I didn't know that he was there. And I was out last night, like I said, I had one come in, and then another one come in, like I said, wouldn't let it eat. I like to see them come in, and get something to eat so they can, have something. It's been really, really cold lately here. I like to see them get some food to get through the night. It's frustrating when they come in and then something scares them, or they end up fighting and then one won't let the other one eat. And I always put the feed under this picnic table just because they're coming right to it. They know that it's there, and it gives them a little bit of protection in there. They don't like to be right out in the open. And the birds spill a lot of seed off of this cable. I've got the bird feeders on. There's a lot of them. That's why the deer are coming in to clean up all this spilled seed. And but the grouse are always going into the eatery to eat, and that's what it was designed for, and that's where they go, and that way it gives them one point to go to. And I always make sure they got a pile of seed in there so they don't have to go picking around and with all the hulls and the husks off the seed that's already been shelled. I promise it's coming up here. The deer's going to come in, and the grouse is already gone kind of down over the hill. And if you kind of look at that whitish tree that's right there, the grouse is already down over the hill. You can see it there after the deer comes in. You can see the grouse is down over the hill there. And here comes the deer. And I didn't see it. I thought, where'd you come from? You little sneak. At that point I didn't really care because the grouse had already eaten 400 seeds. But right off the back of the deer's feet there, you can see the grouse down over the hill. I don't know if anybody will be able to see it. You have to pause it and to see it. But and then he knows I'm there now. I've kind of made myself known. And I'm looking for the grouse, but I didn't see it until after I looked on the video, and I could tell that it was down over the knoll right there. It's right behind that deer now, down over the hill. And it never flew. It's just right there. And then the deer here is going to... And I kind of shut the camera off for a second and then turned it back on when it ran here. And that's pretty well the end of the video. So later, NBMooslover.